A farmhouse sits bathed in the golden hour light of an autumn evening. Almost every window reflects the sun, but on the upper floor, one single pane of glass remains completely dark. After inheriting the estate, a young woman named Maya arrives to clean out the property. While sorting through her late grandmother's belongings, she uncovers an old brass key, finally allowing her to open a guest room door that had been sealed for 30 years. The anticipation of uncovering a family secret dissolves instantly upon entering. The room is small, freezing cold, coated in a thick layer of dust, and contains no visible threats. Only one item in the space appears touched by time. Hanging alone inside a wooden wardrobe is a stark white halter-top cocktail dress. Despite the decades of neglect in the room, the fabric is perfectly preserved and entirely free of dust. This mid-century styling is a direct match for the woman who originally sealed the room. It belongs to the era of Maya's grandmother, mirroring the aesthetic she wore in her youth. Locking a room for 30 years to protect a single, ordinary piece of clothing suggests a level of precaution that the physical contents don't justify. There is a deep contradiction between the security of the door and the mundane nature of the room. To find the actual threat, we have to look past the pristine condition of the fabric and examine the raw wood of the wardrobe holding it. Deep inside the dark interior of the closet, cut straight into the grain of the back panel, the wood reveals a hidden layer of the room's history. A series of marks have been dug into the timber. They lack the elegance of a formal carving. These letters are crude, uneven, and were scratched into the surface with the urgency of a panicked child. The text reads, "She still waits for her turn." The immaculate white dress serves as the lure, drawing a visitor deep enough into the room to find the wardrobe. The scratching in the dark is an unauthorized communication, a warning left behind by a previous occupant who understood the stakes. This carving provides the operating instructions for the space. Merely reading the words and comprehending their meaning serves as the trigger that activates the room's true purpose. The moment the rules are acknowledged, the environment shifts. The ambient temperature drops enough to make breath visible. The room transitions from a state of passive preservation into an active hazard. The mechanism engages in phases. First, the cracked mirror resting against the wall stops reflecting Maya's movements. In her place, occupying the exact same physical space in the reflection, stands a pale, featureless entity. This diagram tracks the behavior of a perimeter entity. The central figure is strictly confined within a defined geographical boundary. It remains entirely immobilized until an external target crosses the threshold into the active zone. Phase 2 executes as the white dress vanishes from the wardrobe and reappears on the bed. The fabric is now heavily creased, and it radiates a faint, visible heat, as if it had been pressed against skin seconds ago. The heat in the dress indicates a transfer of physical properties. The entity in the mirror is drawing heat from the room to manifest, preparing for a total exchange of places with the observer. Realizing she is the intended replacement, Maya attempts to break the rules. Under the cover of night, she packs her bags, intending to flee the property and leave the perimeter entirely. The interception occurs at the very edge of the house. Halfway down the stairs, passing the large antique mirror in the hallway, she freezes. Her grip fails and her luggage drops against the wooden floorboards. Staring back at her from the glass is her own reflection, but she is already wearing the pristine white dress. She has absolutely no memory of putting it on. A second figure steps into the light behind her reflection. It is the spirit of her grandmother, restored to her youth, smiling quietly as she whispers the final rule. Someone always has to wait in that room. The grandmother was the architect of this cycle. Decades ago, she trapped the pale entity inside the perimeter to secure her own freedom. By leading her granddaughter to the room, she has finally provided the replacement the room demanded. By the time the morning sun hits the farmhouse, the property is entirely silent. Upstairs, the heavy wooden door to the guest room is closed tightly, exactly as it had been for 30 years. Weeks later, a locksmith confirms that the heavy, rusted lock on the guest room door had never been tampered with. It had never been broken or forced from the inside. This mechanical fact clarifies the purpose of the door. It was never intended to keep people out of the room. It was built to keep something in. The heavy lock was engaged from the outside to keep the curse contained, holding the trap secure until a suitable heir arrived to restart the cycle and settle the debt. The house itself was merely the vessel. The true inheritance was a generational debt, one that could only be settled when the next child in line finally stepped into the room.